Good morning, my name's Pete. I'm here today in Sandspit, Kilcoon, Olnagai, and I'm going to be doing a bit of a introduction on birding or ornithology today. So today we're going to be learning a little bit about birding and ornithology, and it's one of those activities that might not be an obvious one that appeals for a lot of people. But up here on the islands, you spend so much time outdoors that you can't not become a birder with time. Learning about the wildlife, the trees, and the birds that we share this island with is as important really as knowing who your next door neighbors are, what their habits are, what they like and what they don't like. And you know, whether you're out fishing, walking the dog, or mountain biking, whatever it happens to be, you're going to be seeing, you know, a whole range of bird life every time you go out, and it's really nice, and it gives a lot more color and enhances your enjoyment of that activity to know what it is you're seeing and to know a little bit about them. And so we're going to go through today how you do that, how you you know, increase your knowledge or pick this up. The tools you need to be able to do that, and yeah, and a few points on how to go about it. Fortunately, unlike some outdoor activities, birding doesn't require much in the way of equipment to get started. Really, just two things. The first and the most important are a good set of binoculars. Now, whether you're looking at binoculars, a rifle scope, or a spotting scope, there's some information that you need to know in order to select the right pair of binoculars for whatever activity or your specific environment or surroundings. I should add in here too that one of the best places to find a cheap pair of binoculars is the thrift store. So worth checking out your local thrift store. The information we need to understand when we go and buy a pair of binoculars is what these numbers mean here. So on my binoculars we've got 8 by 30. Well, that first number, the 8, refers to the magnification. So if I look through these binoculars at something, whether it's a bird or a house in the distance, the binoculars will bring that object 8 times closer to me. Obviously, when you're bird watching, depending on where you're doing it, the bird might be far away or it might be close to you. Generally, an 8 times magnification or a 10 times magnification is good for birding. Now the 30 refers to the size of the objective lens, which is the end of the binocular that is closest to your target, closest to your object there, and is referred to as the objective lens. Now the 30 tells us that it's 30 millimeters wide, and the importance of that is that the wider it is, the more light it's able to gather. So if you're going to be birding in the Pacific Northwest, where we get lots of grey days in the winter and there isn't that much light around, you actually do want to get quite a big you'd like quite a large number for that objective lens, because it's going to gather light and it's going to enable you to pick up more and more or more detail on those when you're looking at a bird and trying to identify species or sex or whatever it happens to be. There are small details that you're looking for, so that extra light that the lens is able to gather enhances that detail and makes it easier to make those identifications. Okay, so the next piece of equipment that we need to go along with our binoculars when we head out in the field is a good bird book. Now, there are so many different bird books put together, and there's a degree of personal preference here. I've selected this one, Birds of British Columbia in the Pacific Northwest, and the reason I like this one straight off the bat is that the images that they use are photos rather than illustrations. Whilst there are lots of lovely bird books with great illustrations, they're just not as accurate as a photo, and when it comes to making those tough identifications, a photo is far more useful. There's there's a lot of information in a bird book or in a field guide, and it will vary depending on which guide, which book you select. But just to give you an example here, this is my book, and we're looking at the page of the solitary sandpiper, which we do get here on the West Coast. You got a selection of photographs that show the bird at different stages, different times during the year, in breeding, the male, the female. It has a little map here which tells you where we can find this bird, where we should expect to see it. You can see here that it's indicating the southern end of Vancouver Island, and we've also got different colors here, and I'm going to touch on this in a minute. The different colors, and most field guides will have this, the different colors tell you kind of in what concentrations we find the birds in these places, whether they're just passing through as a migratory bird, whether they're residents there, whether they breed in that area. And each of those behaviors, or each of those seasons that bird can be found in that area, is denoted by a specific color. And your bird book will contain a key, and I'm going to show you mine in just a second here. So we've got the photos, we've got a map, and we've then got a whole load of information here with titles in bold. So it has a little description. It talks a little bit about similar species if we're trying to make an identification, and we think it might be a solitary sandpiper, but it could be another sandpiper. It lists the similar ones right here. And we also have a little bit of information on status and distribution. What habitat we can expect to find the bird in, any specific behavior and feeding, and then a little note on the vocalization, so how the bird sounds, the bird call. Perfect. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Shilo.
Yes.
You know that person.
Yes.
How are you going around the spit, or have you come from?
I just have a little break between a couple of meetings. It calls me like, I think this is my chance.
Yeah. We're very lucky here in Sandspit that we have the spit itself is a fantastic bird watching area. Fairly obviously, if you look out towards Graham Island from the spit, you got Skidegate Inlet, which has the spit acting as a natural breakwater and providing great inshore protected areas for sea ducks, loons, and a whole host of other seabirds to feed quietly in these inshore waters during the winter. So while the spit provides a great platform to observe and watch the birds out on the calm waters of Skidegate Inlet, there are also a number of other species that use the spit, the landmass of the spit, the shore itself, and the grassy, scrubby land leading down to the beach. That is habitat for a whole range of other species too, like the Wilson's snipe, range of plovers and sandpipers that you'll see running up and down the shore. And this brings me on to another point, which is, when we're out there bird watching, like with anything we do, any interaction with any wildlife, we need to be sensitive, and we need to be conscientious about how we interact with it. So at certain times of year, those plovers and those sandpipers that I've just mentioned, they actually use the shore. They build their nests or have their nests right there on the ground. So, and they can actually be quite protective, and you'll know if you're getting too close to a nest. The bird will actually, in some cases, dive bomb you and let you know you're getting too close. So that's worth being aware of. And the same goes if you see an eagle, of which there are many in Sandspit, on the beach, feeding on something. Keep your distance, be respectful, and as always, any trash that you bring in, you take it out too. So we spent the morning walking around the spit, talking a little bit about what equipment we might need if we're planning to go out bird watching for the day. And the spit's always a great option, but we're lucky here in Haida Gwaii. There's lots of trail systems allowing us to get into the forest, where there's also some great bird watching. It's also a lovely place actually tucking up in the forest to start to learn and be able to identify bird calls. Yeah, we're lucky here in Haida Gwaii that we have the forest and the alpine, which also offer opportunities to get out and bird watch. And you know, I never started out as a bird watcher. I'm just a keen outdoors person, but the more time you spend fishing and hiking and walking the dog, the more your interest grows in what else is around you. So I would imagine there'll be a few of you watching this that might not instantly be rushing out to buy a bird book, but I would lay a bit of money on the fact that as your interest in the outdoors grows, so will your interest in the birds that are out there and a part of the experience whenever you tie on your hiking boots and head out there. Yeah, I think that's it.